Hi, I'm Dr. Russ, and this is Unit 3D. How do I get approval to develop my proposal? So you've finished writing Chapter 1, Part 1. Your instructor has read it and given you some feedback, and hopefully you've revised it and made some improvements to it. What's next? Well, now we are going to go through the first milestone of your senior research project. And we'll learn more about what milestones are in a moment. But first, I want to answer the question, why do we even have milestones? In the past, we relied very heavily on what's called a thesis defense to serve as the basis for approving your thesis and allowing you to graduate. And what happened was you spent anywhere from 1 to 3 semesters working on your thesis, and then you presented it to a team of 1 or more people, and they asked questions. And if they thought you answered the questions satisfactorily, they would approve your thesis. But if they didn't, they might make you go back and do part or all of your thesis all over again, including parts that you did months ago. And this was not a good experience. It made the students come into the thesis defense filled with anxiety that they were going to be embarrassed. And that might cause them to do a poor defense, even if they were otherwise prepared. So we created this milestone approach to make it easier to defend your thesis when the time comes and to give you some protection for the hard work that you've done. And the whole idea is rather than wait until the very end when your thesis is all written to check it for quality, we're going to do little checks all along the way. So let's see how that works in general and in particular for Chapter 1, Part 1. Let's go. So as we can see on our list, we've done all the work for Chapter 1, Part 1. We just need to get our formal approval. In the past, this approval was called topic approval because that was basically all that you took to your thesis advisor and department chair and got approval on. And it would be very easy for them to simply say, no, that's not a good topic. But we've taken the time to choose a topic and decide whether it's a good one, to narrow that topic to a research problem that can be investigated, and again, ask ourselves whether it's a good one to investigate, whether it's worthwhile investigating. And we've put together a whole case where we describe the situation, the background, we state what the problem is that's going on in that background, and we state why it's important to investigate, why the results of the study will matter to other people. So you've made a very strong, well-buttressed argument for getting approval to do this study. So what is a milestone? A milestone is a term that comes out of the project management discipline, and it's simply a point in time for us where all or part of your proposal or your thesis, or maybe one part of them is completed, and you're trying to get approval for it. So what happens during a milestone? Your instructor and your thesis advisor review your work and give you feedback. They may also ask you to make some revisions to your work. And in some milestones, the department chair or the academic dean also reviews your work and gives you feedback. What happens when a milestone has been concluded? The people involved in the milestone may return your work to you and ask you to revise it and go through the milestone again, or they may approve your work and then you can start working on the next part of your thesis. Let's look at an example of a milestone. It's not the milestone we're doing now, but it's a good example. Okay, what you see in the middle is the various parts of your research proposal. Chapter 1, Part 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 1, Part 2, and Chapter 3. In this example, the student has just finished Chapter 2. Up at the top there, it says, don't go through the milestone until you get the artifacts right. Basically, when you've written that chapter, you'll submit it to your instructor, get feedback, and you'll revise it. And if the instructor says it's time to go through the milestone, then you can do it. So every milestone has an approval form, and the approval form has criteria so that the people involved can review your work objectively. That means it has these things that ask questions like, did the student do this? Yes or no? So it makes it very hard for a thesis advisor or department chair or whatever to reject your work simply because they don't like it. They have to have a good reason. As we noted, they may ask you to do some revisions though, and you'll do those and come to the milestone again. But once they sign that form, then you move on. You start working on the next part of your proposal or thesis. Once you go through a milestone, you should not ever have to go back and redo that part of your proposal or thesis again unless something really seriously wrong or unexpected happens. So I can't say that there's a guarantee that once you go through a milestone you'll never have to go back, but hopefully most of the time you won't. So when do milestones happen? Is they happen throughout the life of your project. There are 10 of them in all. We are about to go through milestone 1. If you look at the left side of the diagram, you have written part 1 of chapter 1, and down below that chapter we see milestone 1, chapter 1, part 1 approval. So you're going to do one now. And again, there are milestones throughout the project to make sure that you get each piece of your proposal or thesis right before you move on. Different people are involved in each milestone. Let's look at this chart. Right now, on the second line of the chart, we see that you're about to go through milestone 1, chapter 1, part 1, approval. So your advisor is going to approve this, and your department chair is going to approve this. The next 3 milestones, 2, 3, and 4, only your advisor approves it. Then milestone 5, when your proposal is finished at the end of this course, your advisor and your department chair approve it. Then in the thesis course, as you continue to work on your project, the advisor approves your work for milestone 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then finally, when your thesis is completely done in milestone 10, your advisor, your department chair, and the academic dean all approve it. So how do you go through a milestone? Each milestone has instructions. And milestone 1 has instructions in Moodle. It has an approval form, and there'll be an assignment related to the milestone in Moodle. Print out hard copies of the instructions, the approval form, and your paper, and then follow the instructions exactly. They are a little different for each milestone, and you need to read them and follow them exactly. When you go through the milestone, you may want to share those instructions with your thesis advisor and department chair or other people that are involved in that particular milestone so that they know what they are doing too. Okay. So now you know what you have to do to go through milestone 1. Let's get started, and I hope you get approval to fully develop your proposal. Good luck.